Okay, so today we're looking at some interesting stuff from Men Meet, meetmen.com. We're going deep on how men connect discreetly, specifically comparing those, kind of old school methods like cruising versus what's going on now with hookup apps. I mean, we're all about figuring out what works best, right?
It is fascinating how different these two worlds are, isn't it? This is for anyone who's curious, trying to figure things out, wants to know what's what. We'll break it down.
For sure. So first things first, got to make sure we're on the same page here. Cruising, as our material puts it, is basically looking for those quick, anonymous hookups in public or kind of public places like think parks, public restrooms, sometimes even more hidden spots outdoors. It's all about who you see right there, right then, in person, no profile needed.
Yeah, that in-the-moment aspect is really at the heart of cruising. It's all about the face-to-face right then and there. Now flip that and you've got your hookup apps. Our source gives us examples like Grindr, Field, Atom for Atom, those sorts of platforms. You're on your phone, checking profiles, sending messages, then arranging to meet up privately. So a totally different way to get things started.
Right, totally. So, our goal today is to dig into the good, the bad, the in between for both of these approaches. What's good for your privacy? What feels comfortable? What are you actually trying to get out of it? Let's start with privacy because, well, it matters.
With cruising, privacy is tricky. It's like a two-sided coin. No digital trail. Your profile's not on some server, no chat logs for anyone to stumble on. That feels freeing for some people. You connect, then it's like it never happened online. But the flip side is that you are out in public. Someone could see you, someone you know, or just anyone passing by.
True, it's like swapping one risk for another, right? And then with the apps, it's almost the opposite. Everything's happening on your phone. Profile, messages, it's all there digitally. Our source is big on saying you got to manage your own privacy. What can people see on your profile? What info are you sharing? That stuff becomes crucial.
Exactly. You've got control over your privacy, but it's all online. The app gives you tools, but you got to use them. And of course, like with anything online, there's always the chance of data breaches, screenshots, all that. Your profile, messages, even when and where you use the app, it's all data that can be stored, shared, or even accessed by someone you didn't intend.
Okay, so let's talk about control. With cruising, it seems like you don't really have much say in who you meet. Whoever is at that spot, that's who you're dealing with.
Yeah, you're going there hoping to see someone who catches your eye, but you can't really filter out who else is going to be around. It's kind of up to chance. Maybe, in a way, that lack of control is what some people like about cruising. The excitement of not knowing who you'll find.
Could be. Could be. It's interesting. Now, with apps, our source really emphasizes how much control you have. You scroll through, you've got your filters, age, location, what they're into. You decide who to message, who to meet up with.
Being able to filter and be picky is a huge plus for lots of people. It makes things way more efficient, right? You only focus on those who seem like a good match from the get-go.
Now, obviously, safety is super important. Let's talk about cruising first. Our source mentions risks that come with the location itself, and then you've got legal stuff to think about depending on where you are. Can you unpack that a bit?
Sure. When you're in a more isolated public place, safety is a real concern. You might not know who's around, things could get out of hand. And yeah, legally speaking, laws about public sex are all over the place. Doing stuff in public could get you in trouble, depending on where you are.
Definitely good to know. So, what about safety with the apps? Our source says it can be safer as long as you're careful about screening people and choosing who to interact with. What's that actually look like?
With the apps, you could be a lot more proactive. You check out their profile, send messages to get a feel for them. You can choose to meet in public for a first date. Plus, some apps have ways to report sketchy behavior or block people. But, and this is important, online stuff has its own risks. Fake profiles, people lying about who they are, all that. You've got more tools for safety, but you still got to be smart about it.
Okay, let's move on to speed. Cruising seems like it can be really quick. You see someone, there's a connection, and things happen. But our source also says it's unpredictable.
Absolutely. That potential for things to click instantly is definitely a draw for some people.
Hmm.
But there's also no guarantee that you'll meet anyone you're into at any given time or place. It's all about being in the right spot at the right time.
On the other hand, with apps, it's more of a slow burn, right?
Yeah.
Messages back and forth, figuring out schedules. It's not that instant gratification.
No, you got to put in some effort. Browsing, messaging, planning where and when to meet. You need to be more patient. Plus, sometimes the chatting just fizzles out and you never actually meet.
Okay, so what about chemistry? The source says with cruising, it's all about that real-time, in-person attraction. You see someone, you feel that spark, and that's what gets things going.
Yeah, that face-to-face chemistry, that immediate connection, it can be really powerful.
Yeah.
It's about the way someone looks, how they move, the energy they give off. It's all happening right there in front of you.
But with apps, that first impression is based on pictures and messages. You don't get that same in-person vibe, do you? I mean, being able to filter based on photos is cool and all, but do you think it maybe makes people miss out on connections because they're so focused on looks? Looks that might not even translate to a real connection.
Hmm, that's a great point. Pictures and messages can only tell you so much, right? You never really know until you meet face to face.
Right. Then there's accessibility. Cruising obviously depends on you knowing where the local spots are. If you don't, or if there aren't any near you, it's not really an option.
Yeah, that's a big limitation. Your location really dictates whether cruising is even possible.
But with apps, it's 24/7 right there on your phone. Like our source points out, you can use them anywhere, anytime, as long as you've got internet.
That easy access is a big plus for the apps. It opens up so many possibilities no matter where you are.
Lastly, let's talk about discretion. Our source says, with cruising, there are no digital records, which we talked about earlier. But of course, people could still see you out in public.
Exactly. No online trail, but you are physically out there, so there's always the chance someone might see what's going on.
And with the apps, everything stays within the app itself, which is generally private, at least on your phone. The problem comes in if someone else uses your phone, or if your privacy settings aren't strict enough. So even if you're in incognito mode, could there still be ways for your activity to be tracked within the app's system?
That's a great question. The app might offer privacy features, but how secure your information really is depends on how you use the app and your phone's security.
Okay, so we've looked at cruising and hookup apps head to head. Let's dig deeper into the specific pros and cons our source brings up for each, starting with the pros of cruising. No messaging, no planning, just go, right?
Hmm.
Speaks to that whole instant gratification thing we were talking about.
Exactly. For people who want to be spontaneous and just go with the flow, not having to plan a bunch or send tons of messages is a major draw.
It also hinges on that instinct and initial attraction in the moment.
That gut feeling, that immediate connection,
Hmm.
it's a powerful thing for some people.
Plus, no profiles, no usernames, no data being stored anywhere. Back to that whole anonymity thing. Not having a digital trail can be a big relief. You connect, and it's like it never happened online. It's a more old school way of doing things.
Absolutely. That's a huge selling point for anyone who's really concerned about their privacy and not leaving a digital footprint.
And it all boils down to the potential for anonymity and spontaneity. Those are the biggies.
You nailed it. Those are the unique aspects of cruising that draw a lot of people in.
Now, the downsides. First up, the risk of being seen, which we touched on earlier.
It's a valid concern for a lot of people, especially those who aren't out to everyone or who want to keep their personal life totally private.
Then there are the legal issues in certain places.
Mhm.
That can be a real deal breaker.
Yeah, like we said, laws about public sex can be really confusing and have serious consequences. You got to do your research and know what you're getting into.
Our source also mentions that there's no guarantee anyone will be at a cruising spot. Sometimes you go and nobody's there.
That's a big frustration for some. You put in the effort to go out, and then there's no one there or no one you're interested in.
And another tricky part seems to be setting boundaries. Without talking beforehand, it's harder to make sure everyone's on the same page, and things can get awkward. Consent is super important, and without prior communication, it can be more difficult to make sure everyone feels safe and respected.
100%. It's harder to be clear about what you're okay with and what you're not okay with when there's no communication beforehand.
Okay, switching gears. Let's look at the pros of hookup apps. The filtering is a big one, like we talked about. Age, interests, distance. It really streamlines things. You can find people who you're more likely to click with, right?
It's all about efficiency. You spend less time sifting through profiles that aren't a good fit.
And then there's that Alamaris Lendevetter. You can actually chat before meeting. You get to see what their personality's like, talk about stuff you have in common, and feel more comfortable before taking things offline.
It's Wayland of a gamble. You can build a little rapport before you actually meet in person.
Plus, it's easier to set boundaries and expectations through messaging. That upfront communication makes things so much smoother and safer. Everyone knows what's up.
Yeah, that open dialogue is a huge plus when it comes to safety and making sure everyone's comfortable.
Our source also mentions some apps have features like incognito mode, which hides your face, or ways to keep your profile more private. Good for people who are worried about being seen on the app.
It's a nice extra layer of security and privacy.
Now, on the flip side, the cons. Our source says apps can feel impersonal or even frustrating. And I bet a lot of people listening who've used these apps would agree with that, wouldn't they? Sometimes it feels more like a transaction than a real connection. And seeing so many profiles can get overwhelming.
Totally. Sometimes it feels like you're just another face in the crowd, which isn't exactly the best feeling.
Then there are the fake profiles. Always a pain.
Unfortunately, it's something you got to watch out for online. It's all about being observant and not taking everything at face value.
And then again, the whole digital footprint thing. It's on you to manage your privacy. The apps have tools, but you have to use them wisely and be careful about what you share.
You're in control, but that also means you're responsible.
And lastly, all that chatting that sometimes leads nowhere, that's got to be frustrating. You put in all this time and effort talking to people, and then it just fizzles out.
It can be a real letdown when you're hoping for an actual meetup.
So, after all that, how do you decide what's right for you? Our source says it boils down to what you're looking for, what matters most to you.
No right or wrong answer. It's all about what works best for your individual needs and situation.
If privacy and control are your top priorities, the source suggests apps might be the way to go. You can manage your online presence and who you talk to, which gives you more control over your information.
Exactly. You've got the tools to protect yourself and decide who to interact with.
But if you're all about that fast, anonymous action, cruising might be more your style. It's spontaneous, you can jump right in, but you just got to be okay with the fact that it's unpredictable and you don't have much control over who you meet.
It's a different vibe for sure.
And if you really don't want to be seen in public, apps are definitely safer in that regard. You can be pretty anonymous online, which is a big advantage for some people.
That ability to control your visibility is huge for those who prioritize privacy.
And for those who go with their gut and like that instant in-person connection, cruising has that going for it. That immediate attraction is key.
Yeah, that face-to-face chemistry is something you just can't replicate online.
One thing our source mentions is that some people do both, depending on their mood, their schedule, where they are. It doesn't have to be one or the other, right?
Right. People's needs and preferences change all the time, so why not mix things up?
So to wrap things up, cruising and hookup apps each have their own ups and downs. One's super quick and doesn't leave a trace online, but you don't have much control over who you meet and people might see you. The other gives you control and privacy online, but it can feel less personal, and you have to be careful about managing your information.
Like we've been saying, there's no one right way to do this. It's about figuring out what matters to you, whether it's privacy, instant connections, or having control over who you interact with.
And on that note, here's something to think about. Which method feels right for you right now? What are you looking for? What are your priorities? Is it that spark, the control, the discretion? And remember, what works best for you might change over time. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.